What a great rendition of Happy Birthday. Good morning, everyone. I'm Claudia Garcia de la Huerta. It is 20 minutes to 9 o'clock here on Morning Light. As Michael has mentioned throughout the morning, today is a very special day here at Classic 107. 4 years ago today, we flipped the switch out at Centennial Concert Hall, surrounded by the artistic and cultural community and music fans. And it seems like it was just yesterday, but at the same time, it feels like we've kind of always been here. And that's thanks to you, the listeners and our clients who have supported us right from the very start. But even before that, there is another man we must thank, and that's Golden West Radio CEO Elmer Hildebrand. Classic 107 is his vision, and thanks to him, we are here. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome him to the Classic 107 studio this morning. Good morning, Elmer.
Good morning, Claudia. How are you?
I'm good. In a very celebratory mood today. It's a wonderful day here at Classic.
Yeah, it's not quite as cold as it was 4 years ago.
That was quite a blizzard. I remember waking up that morning and thinking, are we even going to make it to the concert hall?
It was a little different day, but time has gone by very quickly.
It has. It absolutely has. So, Elmer, when did the idea for a classical and jazz station start percolating for you?
Well, actually, quite a few years before we actually managed to sign on, we had obtained a small FM frequency in Winnipeg, which we weren't quite sure what to do with. And then when the CBC sort of left the classical music genre almost entirely, then it occurred to me that, there was a hole that we could fill. And then we got permission by the CRTC to change our format on the radio station that we had to classical music, which we then did. And I was always relatively certain that the community at large in Winnipeg and southern Manitoba would take to a station like this simply because of the cultural fabric of the community.
So how did you envision the station in your mind?
Well, basically, to some extent, Golden West has been involved with classical music since 1957, when we started our first radio station in Altona. And the station, to this day, has a classical music component. So I was familiar with that part of the musical genre and also knew how much people actually enjoyed the music and the style that we could present. And so that the idea of putting together a musical day that has a sort of an ebb and flow that listeners can sort of enjoy. It can be part of their entire day, whether they're in the home or drive or in the office. And so I think it's been fair to say that the employees at Classic 107 have basically been able to fulfill that dream of ours that we had some years ago.
You talked about the idea of, feeling confident that the community would support something like this. You are such a huge supporter of arts and culture, both here in Winnipeg and across Manitoba. You're very quiet about it, but we know how much you support all of these different communities. Why is arts and culture so important to you personally?
Well, it's really part of the fabric of who we are. And one of the things that occurred to me many years ago, the more that we can give the community, whether it's in southern Manitoba or Winnipeg, that we can sort of be part of their everyday fabric in a variety of musical genres. We now have more than a dozen radio stations in Manitoba that are all finding their own niche. And whether it's Classic 107 in Winnipeg or CHVN that has another genre, there is an appetite for the kind of programming that we're able to put together. And so we're just happy to provide this to our listeners. And one of the things that we know is these things don't happen by themselves. And so all of these organizations generally need financial support. We can do that, but more important, maybe we can give them promotional support. We can actually promote a variety of musical groups that otherwise would not ever be showcased. We're happy to provide our audience with musical talents that come from Manitoba, and the whole process has been very satisfactory from my perspective.
Now, I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here. One of the most common comments that we get, we have listeners not only just here in Winnipeg and Manitoba, but right across the country. And the most common question we get is, will you start another classical music station in Alberta or Ontario or BC? Any thoughts about that?
Certainly we get that question quite a bit, but my sense is probably not. Winnipeg is a unique city in that, for its size, it has more culture, more musical talents, more fabric, a musical fabric that sort of spans a variety of genres. And so it works here, and basically it works because Golden West has its roots in Manitoba, so we can do this because we want to. To start something like this in another city would be much more difficult because our roots aren't there.
Well, I'm so glad that I get to be here in Winnipeg to do this kind of radio. As we sit here on the 4th anniversary of the station, what do you envision for the future of Classic 107?
Well, I think there's been a very consistent growth pattern for the radio station. More and more clients are coming on board. We see that growth continuing. I think the musical talent and the musical schedule that has been put together is consistent with what many listeners enjoy, and I think we can continue to do that. My hope is that we can continue to hone our talents in such a way that more and more people will come to appreciate Classic 107. And what I'd like to say now to all of our listeners, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, because there's still people in Winnipeg that haven't tried us. And so many times they need to try it at least for a day to say, oh, I quite enjoy this.
The numbers are growing. We know it.
Yep.
CEO of Golden West Radio, Mr. Elmer Hildebrand. Thank you so much, Elmer, for coming into the studio this morning, and happy birthday.
Thanks, Claudia. It's been my pleasure.